Thank you for everyone being here today. I am Naomi Kuwai, Commissioner with the Public Utilities Commission, and I'm joined today at this virtual status conference by Commissioner Colin Yos. Chair Asuncion may join us later. Today's status conference is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be made available on the Commission's YouTube channel. The purpose of today's status conference is for the Commission to receive an update from the docket parties on the status of Punaluu Water and Sanitation's pending rate case application, as well as to discuss concerns with the status of PWS's current operations. The parties have submitted written updates in letters dated February 5th, 2025. The Commission's objectives for today are to gather information to, 1, understand the extent of any financial issues that PWS might be facing, and 2, confirm that PWS will be able to continue operations, and if not, gather information to determine what next steps are needed to ensure customers are provided with uninterrupted service. We will begin today's status conference by allowing the parties to make opening statements, including information on the following. First, the status of PWS's rate case application, including any plans to make a supplemental filing to complete the application in accordance with order number 40941. 2, unconfirmed accounts that PWS is experiencing difficulty in maintaining operations and any applicable plans to ensure continued operations. And 3, what communications PWS and the consumer advocate have had to address the pending application and operational concerns. Each party will be given 10 minutes to speak. First, we will hear from PWS, then the consumer advocate. PWS counsel, please introduce yourself and any others from your party and provide your opening statement, including an overview of your written responses.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Will Yamamoto, and I represent Punaluu Water and Sanitation, or PWS for short. Here with me today are my clients. The client team consists of the primary shareholder of the owner of PWS, Eva Liu, and I also have PWS representative Norman. Norman, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. As well as Mr. Chuck Loy. He's the consultant that PWS had engaged to look at the financial figures of PWS, as well as prepare the general rate case application, as well as our intent to file a temporary rate increase application in the near future. Also with us is Yoga Yang and Zach Ho. Those two individuals have a financial interest in the outcome of this proceeding, as well as PWS, given that they provided financing to PWS through their company, Black Sand Beach. And I believe that covers our side.
Well, we have two more people. We have Alan Fukushima, who is our operator from Big Island Water and Sanitation. We also have Ling Zhuan, who is our accounting manager from PWS.
Okay, thank you, Norman.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Michelangelo, the Consumer Advocate, Executive Director of Consumer Advocacy. We have with us our Supervising Attorney, Scott Boone, Staff Attorney, Mickey Knox, various staff members. If I miss anyone, please speak up. Des Lipscomb, Research Analyst, Sun Ying Kao, Angie, Research Analyst, and I'm Anybody else? I believe Kaylu Zhang, who is also an engineer with our department or division. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Will, can you provide a summary of your position statement?
Certainly. Thank you. Yeah, so PWS did file its preliminary responses to the commission's questions yesterday, or I'm sorry, 2 days ago on February 5th. And I can cover those now. And to the extent the commission has further questions or wants further detail, either myself or one of the members here on behalf of PWS could provide those details today. First, with respect to the status of the supplemental filing requested by the PUC back in August 2024 to the rate case application that PWS had filed on June 28, 2024. PWS had temporarily paused its application for general rate increase due to financial difficulties affecting its ability to pay its vendors, consultants, and counsel. And, it was our understanding that it would just be a temporary pause until such time PWS was able to secure additional financing, which would allow it to continue that general rate increase request proceeding. And our understanding was also that until such time we provided the additional information the PUC had requested, the general rate case application was deemed incomplete and would not resume, the proceeding would not resume until such time we provided such information. So the decision by PWS was made to just put things on hold temporarily until they can get more funding to fund their efforts. With respect to the difficulties in providing water and wastewater services, PWS is experiencing financial difficulties that's hindering its ability to provide reliable services. It lacks the financial capability to cover its operational expenses beyond February 28 this year. And on or about January 6th of this year, its current operator, Big Island Water and Sanitation, had notified PWS that it would have to cease operations after February 28 due to unpaid fees, as well as the lack of confirmation for necessary repairs and maintenance, which would enable Big Island Water and Sanitation to be able to continue operating the facility. And in terms of the plan for ensuring continued services, PWS, after receiving that notice from Big Island Water and Sanitation, had attempted to negotiate with Big Island Water and Sanitation to explore financing options, but initially it was unsuccessful. And I believe a representative of the financing company, Yoga Yang, had reached out to the PUC via email as well as a phone call and spoke with, I believe, a Mr. Matisse, and indicated that PWS was experiencing some financial difficulty and was inquiring about what would happen if they could no longer provide services and what would happen if, for example, they were to declare bankruptcy. And I think this was just an effort of the financing folks of PWS getting concerned and wanting to know what the options are that would allow PWS to continue operating. And then my understanding is, after that, PWS tried on its own to, figure out how to resolve this situation. And failing that, they had finally reached out to counsel, myself, to re-engage us and to ask for assistance with respect to this matter around the middle of January. And around that time, as we were just starting to gather some information, we had our first call on January 20, and we started to fact gather. The commission issued its notice on January 23, requesting responses as well as setting the status conference. Since that time, we have been able to meet with the consumer advocate, and we explained our financial situation, explained the circumstances surrounding Big Island Water and Sanitation, and explored potential options or ideas for trying to allow for the continued operations of the facility. And what PWS concluded was that it would have to first reach an agreement with Big Island Water and Sanitation as to what it needed to continue operations beyond February 28th. BIWS, or Big Island Water and Sanitation, indicated to PWS that it could continue operations beyond February 28 under the following conditions, namely that it get paid for past due fees, as well as get paid for future fees in the amount of about $7,000 a month plus tax, as well as perform as well as cover the expenses and costs related to various repairs that are necessary to allow Big Island Water and Sanitation to continue its operations beyond February 28th. And so we provided those details in our letter on February 5th to the Commission. And we've asked Alan Fukamizu of Big Island Water and Sanitation to be here today to answer any more specific questions that the Commission may have as to the items necessary and why they're necessary, and confirm that they are willing to continue their operations subject to getting paid for those things. And then, in terms of also with respect to the plan for continued services, PWS intends to file a temporary rate increase application to cover these necessary expenses in order to ensure continued operations. But given that this is all happening in real time, it's taking a little while to put together that temporary rate increase application. We're hopeful that we could file an application sometime next week. And the idea here would be, this would just be a temporary rate increase for the time being so that the services don't stop until such time a general rate case review is completed, or perhaps until PWS is able to find a new owner to take over ownership of the facility. And then lastly, in terms of communications with the consumer advocate, PWS has been in communication with the consumer advocate. In fact, the consumer advocate had reached out to us at least on 2 or more occasions regarding the status of the application. And at that time, PWS confirmed its intention to continue the application, but was not able to specify a time or a timeline for the supplemental filing. And we didn't indicate it to the CA at the time, but it was because, PWS was facing financial difficulties, which, affected its ability to pay counsel, its vendors, and consultants that would allow for the continued proceeding. And then finally, PWS's counsel discussed these recent challenges with Consumer Advocates Council. And then following that, we had our meeting with the Consumer Advocate, where we were able to share more details ahead of this status conference. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Consumer Advocate, will you please provide a summary of your position statement or letter dated February 5th, 2025?
Sorry, that was to us. I didn't hear that well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Provide a summary of your position.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Obviously, upon learning of the financial challenges and situation that Punaluu was currently in, we were very concerned. So I won't re-summarize what Mr. Yamamoto went through in the nature of our discussions, but I'll focus more on our response to number 3. Since we have been in contact periodically, as Mr. Yamamoto indicated, to find out the status of the rate case application, provide the details of that. Since that time, we also contacted, in between the time of this filing and the status conference, I want to emphasize that we were concerned about customer awareness. They do appear to be aware of the pending rate case, the pending financial difficulties. They were made aware. We spoke with a member of the AOA or AOAO, and they raised a number of concerning things that I'd like to also highlight here. They've been filing, at least within testimony, before the Windward Planning Commission, as an example, concerns. So there's ongoing concerns basically with the state of operations, of how the management of the water facility has been operated since the time that Punaluu has taken over. And this is ongoing concerns. They have some recommendations on capital improvements, and they make some, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I want to make sure that these concerns are emphasized. They have concerns over fire protection system and ongoing maintenance and repairs that they believe could be enacted with potential payback periods of 6 months to deliver decreased costs to the operator. They also drew attention to Aqua Engineers report at the time of that was conducted on or around the time of the CPCN transfer, and highlighted some of these system inefficiencies. And their contention is that many of these things were not done. So we're concerned about that. So as we go forward, I think we would want to see a plan to address these ongoing system deficiencies. But the key point is that the customers are aware. We spoke to at least a member of the AOAO, and customers are aware of this challenging financial situation. And now we're in a situation where we need to figure out what to do going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashworth. You will now have time for comments from the public and other stakeholders. The purpose for this portion of the status conference is for the commission to hear from any interested individuals or entities, not to answer questions about PWS's rate case application or current status of operations. The commission will take your comments and questions under advisement, but will not directly respond at that time. You will first call upon those who signed up to provide comments via the chat feature. Please wait for your name to be called before proceeding with your comments. For those who are participating over the phone, when prompted, you will need to enter *6 to unmute yourself. You will each have 3 minutes to speak. We will first hear from any elected officials, including state or county governments, organizations, and then individuals. Okay. Right now, no one has signed up to speak. Do we have anyone wanting to speak or on this matter?
Hi, my name is Ron Ebert and I live at Punaluu. And
Okay, just a moment. Mr. Ebert, can you,
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Ebert, can you go ahead and indicate if you're associated with any entity or if you're a customer of PWS before commenting, please?
Okay, my name is Ron Ebert. I live at Punaluu. I am a customer. I'm also a firefighter. I'm the captain in Pahala and Naalehu of the volunteer fire companies in both places. And it's a great concern to me that it appears that the water may be going away. And that is a very great problem in the sense of, if you look at Lahaina and the California fires, a lot of what we have here, we depend on water from this system. And whatever you can do, if you could get the county to take it over or whatever, I realize for whatever reasons they're having difficulty financially, that please don't let the system go away. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ebert. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify? If
This
you
is
are-
Jeff Silva. This is Jeff Silva. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Silva, can you please state what association you're with, or if you're a customer?
Yes, I am an owner at Colony One condominiums at Punaluu. I'm also the president of the AOAO of Colony One. I'm also a grade 4 distribution system operator and a grade 1 treatment plant operator licensed by the state of Hawaii. I just would like to state that it's pretty surprising that the water consumers get essentially 20 days notice of a possible discontinuance of water service. I find that quite egregious behavior from public utilities management and ownership. I think the PUC and the powers that be should be quite shocked by this. We are where we are. I would like to see some solutions. I would like to pose some solutions. I'm just not sure that the current owner and manager of the system, one, is capable of managing the system, or two, has obviously not shown the financial capacity to manage and operate the system. Obviously, this is a complex issue, and it's very difficult for this to be expressed in only 3 minutes. So essentially, there are major concerns. There are health and safety issues. There's fire suppression issues. There's a potential for an environmental issue with the wastewater treatment. All of these things PWS was aware of upon their purchase. The PUC made sure they were very aware of these things when they purchased the system back in 2019, 2020. They have failed to address any of these issues in the intervening 5 years, including they have failed to pick the low-hanging fruit of reducing their costs by eliminating leaks.
Mr. Silva, you
They-
have 30 seconds left.
I'm sorry?
You have 30 seconds left.
Okay. Thank you for taking my time, or for hearing me, and thank you for taking the time. I look forward to giving more input in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Next, we have Max Phillips. And just as a reminder for those who wish to testify, please put in the chat function, and I wish that you really want to testify, and your name and your organization. Max Phillips.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Max Phillips. I am the Hawaii Director and Staff Attorney for the Center for Biological Diversity. We are currently in a contested case proceedings against the owners of PWS for their Black Sand Beach LLC application for a special management area permit, which would allow for this development down in Punaluu to increase to 225 residential and short stay units, a village center, retail uses, the golf courses, and basically a major redevelopment of this site. We a big part of our contention for the SMA cases is this exact issue, is an outdated wastewater system. Past engineering reports have determined that the current 50-year-old wastewater collection system, treatment plant, and disposal systems are very outdated and is functioning at only a fraction of its original design capacity. The current plant does not treat wastewater to current Department of Health standards requiring removal of harmful viruses and bacteria. And in fact, in the 2006 draft environmental impact statement for development of this land, the on-site wastewater treatment plant it clearly states is deteriorated and does not have sufficient capacity to serve the new load. And that's on page 1 through 15 of the 2006 DEIS. The quote goes on to say the wastewater system is also old and obsolete. The technology is outdated. New development will require a significant upgrade or a replacement of the entire system and a requirement to meet newer, more stringent wastewater standards. So increasing the density in the area will tax this already obsolete wastewater treatment plant and jeopardize our nearshore waters. This is really concerning in that the SMA permit application for the this new development under this owner says the wastewater treatment plant is built to 100,000 gallons per day GPD capacity. However, the 2006 DEIS says that the facility is built to a 50 GPD capacity and is already in poor repair. A new wastewater treatment plant is required for any type of development that is being proposed by this developer, which triggers the requirement for a supplemental impact, environmental impact statement before any SMA permit can be approved. So hearing today in front of this commission that the owners are considering bankruptcy and don't have the appropriate funds to manage this already failing water system is very concerning. The center has a bunch of members that are residents in Punaluu, and we are and we are extremely concerned not only on the impacts to our members, but onto our nearshore waters and our endangered species that depend upon this beach for their very survival.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Next up, we have Paulette K. Ms. K, if you're on the line, please commence. Paulette? Paulette, we can't hear you if you could unmute yourself. And that's through *6. Okay. Oh, she's unable to. Are you on phone?
I'm a call-in. This is phone number 541-990-3043. Do I have the
Is
floor?
this that's talking right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we can hear you now. Please proceed.
My name is Tammy Ghost. I own a condo at Colony 1. I'm speaking as an owner of a condo, not speaking for the AOAO. I would just like to point out that I submitted written testimony in this matter with a January 18th, 2022 email to a number of individuals and departments, Public Works, Department of Health, et cetera, and the PUC, outlining all the problems we're facing and above all the derelict condition of the utility. And I would point out that in the original application to be the owner operator certified by the PUC, Eva Liu, the sole partner in all these LLCs, including PWS, had to submit personal bank statements testifying to the funding and the wealth, which was well over $1 million, that she had at her disposal to make the necessary repairs right out of the gate to address the deficiencies in the system as it existed when she purchased it, which was acknowledged to be basically $1 because it was in such terrible shape. Yet she has never been held accountable. It was not PWS LLC, it was Eva Liu who was certified as the owner operator and pledged and said she was capable of repairing. The PUC needs to enforce the order that it is issued. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paulette Kay, please unmute yourself and begin testimony.
Yes, yes. Aloha, my name is Paulette Kay, and my interest in Punaluu is my dad was born there, so it is my Pico. And throughout, I don't, no one's to blame. The system's gone this way for such a long time, but I believe if we can get help somehow from the commission, the county, to help us keep it safe, because we have a lot of tourists and people visiting. Safety is of utmost importance. So we can avoid, if there's a fire down there, like in Lahaina and elsewhere, that we can omit all that. But in spite of all the different manaos that's going on through a long time, because trust me, nothing's been done prior to the new ownership. And I'm one of the kupunas of Ha Na Kupuna. And we are trying dearly to help wherever we can to make it happen, to make it nice again, to be more inviting, but especially to keep it safe for all the people of Hawaii to continue using Punaluu, and for all our visitors to take home great memories. And I mahalo that, because my daddy, that's his home. And mahalo nui.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. Next, we have Norman Kwan. Mr. Kwan, if you can unmute yourself and state your name for the record and your organization.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to just go over the circumstances in which PWS took over these operations. And I think it's really critical to really understand why we're at this point right now. If you don't mind, it may take more than 3 minutes, if that's okay. I represented PWS.
Okay, Mr. Kwan, we're just at a status conference, and I understand that you do want to correct things for the record. But at this time, I don't think it's necessary to go through the details of your financial situation. I'll have questions later on that I will ask you about, and you can respond. But at this time, I would rather have the members of the public testify. Okay, thank you. There's an Alan Kukumizu. If you could unmute yourself and please provide your name and affiliation for the record.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was having issues with my computer. My name's Alan Fukumizu. My company operates the system for PWS. So there's a couple things since we have taken over. We haven't had any service interruptions due to failed equipment. We've had one time to shut down the water because.
Mr. Fukumizu, I'm going to interrupt you right here. As I instructed Mr. Kwan, the commission will have questions specifically for you and PWS. And so right now, we're not going to ask you to testify. I want to really save this particular segment for members of the public. If you could please hold off on stating your position. Is there any other member of the public? Okay. I'm not going to call upon, I guess, representatives from PWS and any individuals that they believe would best answer my questions. So, Mr. Yamamoto, can you please mute yourself?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. In your letter on February 5th, 2025, you mentioned that PWS anticipates filing an application for a temporary rate increase. Can you please provide us more information and more specifically the date of this anticipated filing as well as any details regarding what you're going to be specifically requesting?
Yes, Commissioner. I believe the intent is to request a temporary rate increase just to cover what's absolutely necessary to keep the lights on at the facility, to keep the water and wastewater services going and continuing so that there is no stoppage of water and wastewater services. PWS has had a chance to discuss in detail with the facility operator, Big Island Water and Sanitation, of what's necessary. And we provided a short list of those items in our February 5th letter, along with approximate costs for such items. And in addition, there are additional miscellaneous expenses that PWS incurs, not related to the operator, that it also needs to pay, monthly bills that it normally pays. And so those items will also be in the temporary rate increase application that we intend to file, given that we deem those also as necessary. And without those, PWS is simply out of money. With respect to the timing, we anticipate filing this sometime next week. We are working hard. All this is happening in real time. And so we are working really hard to try to put together the application. And as you probably are aware, a temporary rate increase application has to include much of what is included in a general rate increase application. And putting one of those together takes quite a bit of time to make sure all the financial information is correct. And we are focused on all the details that are necessary under the statute. With respect to, I don't know if you would entertain us responding to any of the concerns that we just heard from the public, but if it's helpful, I or members of the PWS team can try to address and explain some of those concerns.
Mr. Yamamoto, not at this time. The purpose of this hearing is basically so that you can actually hear what the concerns are. I expect you folks to continue dialogue with members of the public, including your customers who obviously have some serious concerns. So I would expect you folks to reach out, perhaps on your own, hold some call sessions or hearings or whatever have you to update the people who are going to be affected by your service.
Understood.
I have another question. Understanding that the process for reviewing a temporary rate increase application will require a public hearing, an intervention period, and an evidentiary hearing, unless the parties stipulate otherwise. Will PWS be able to continue service until a temporary rate increase can be approved?
I think I need to let members of PWS answer that. I don't have an approximate timing. I know under the rules, there's a 21-day notice period. So, from the time of filing and assuming that notice is shortly thereafter issued to the public, that starts the clock of the 21-day notice period. And beyond that, there's going to be deliberation as well as time for intervention and discussion. So I don't know when we'll actually have an opportunity to get the temporary rate increase effective. But assuming it's, 2 months from now or a month, little over a month from now, I guess that's the question is whether we can continue operating beyond February 28 for an additional couple of weeks or potentially, over a month while this is all happening? That's a question for PWS representatives.
Mr. Yamamoto, that's, you're a seasoned attorney for the PUC, and you know that, give you a specific time. We understand it is a temporary rate increase, but I would encourage you to talk to your clients about possible time frames. You don't want to necessarily waste police resources going down this avenue if your client is not willing to fund the operations until you can address their application.
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing that.
So you're seasoned and well aware of the time frames that are required for a typical rate increase application. My concern, and shared by my fellow commissioners, is that at least your client commit to continue operations and funding operations until we can resolve your temporary rate increase application. In other words, we don't want to necessarily start this docket and your clients 2 months later decide that they're going to file bankruptcy. So again, I would have that heart to heart with your clients to figure out their financial situation.
Understood.
Okay, does PWS have a written agreement with BIWS that reflects the conditions described in the February 5th letter to continue operations after February 28th?
Yes, my understanding is yes. I believe there was email communication between PWS and Big Island Water and Sanitation outlining what the conditions of Big Island Water and Sanitation were in order to continue operating beyond February 28th.
As part of your temporary rate increase application, can you please provide a copy of that agreement?
Certainly.
Does the new agreement with BIWS cover all the responsibilities that are in addition to the current contractual requirements? And how do these expenses differ from those identified in the rate case application?
In general, I think the temporary rate increase application is only going to contain what is absolutely necessary to continue the operations. It's not going to include a lot of the other items that are typically in a general rate increase application. We have our rate case consultant on the line, and he can speak to them more particularly about what's not included.
Can you have that consultant remove themselves and explain what is not included in the temporary rate increase application?
Chuck, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. As far as the temporary rate application, yeah, we're putting it together. We don't have the final numbers, but some items that would be excluded would be depreciation and return on rate base and taxes associated with that. We're excluding those items that we've determined to exclude, and we're still reviewing the rest of the costs to get it as reasonable as possible for operation. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Thank you very much. Mr. Yamamoto, other questions for you.
Okay.
PWS's current financial situation negatively impacting its ability to cover any other operational expenses or jeopardizing its ability to comply with any federal, state, or county laws. Mr. Yamamoto.
I'm sorry, you broke up there. Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Is PWS's current financial situation negatively impacting its ability to cover any other operational expenses or jeopardizing its ability to comply with any federal, state, or county laws?
Not that I'm aware of. PWS has only indicated to me that its current financial situation is affecting its current operations and as well as paying the operator for the facility, but I am not aware of any other expenses that is making it challenging to cover with respect to federal, state, and county laws.
Thank you. What financial support can or is being provided from the owner, and will that be, I guess, will that continue until the completion of the temporary rate increase application?
Yeah, that is something that I need to take back to PWS in light of your earlier question, and get an understanding, and I can report to the commission shortly thereafter.
You can include that if it's part of your temporary rate increase application. You would be looking.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If a temporary rate increase is granted, is PWS intending to file a new or amended general rate increase application, or is PWS actively searching for a third party to acquire the utility?
I think my understanding is that PWS is doing both. It understands the dire nature of the situation and is exploring all options. And so, as we stated in our February 5th letter, PWS is inclined to file this temporary rate increase application, and with the understanding that if approved, those temporary rates would be effective until such time PWS is able to prepare and file its general rate case application. As the commission is aware, it already prepared a general rate increase application in the summer of 2024, and PWS believes it just needs to update a few things in that general rate case application and can recommence that for not too much additional cost. But the bigger concern is that once that general rate increase application commences, PWS is going to need to secure additional financing to help cover the costs of that proceeding, both in terms of the rate case consultant as well as legal expenses associated with that proceeding, because it is currently out of money. And then with respect to your other question about entertaining a potential buyer, I believe PWS reached out to two large water operators that have been operating in the state of Hawaii, and is currently in discussions or awaiting feedback from those operators.
Thank you. So it's my understanding now that PWS is not intending to abandon service or discontinue service. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So you are representing that it will continue service until such time as either they secure sufficient increase in rates to cover their operations or secure another company to assist in their operations, correct?
That is correct, subject to obviously the duration of time it takes to secure a temporary rate increase. We just don't know at this time whether are we talking a few weeks or several months. And obviously, PWS currently is facing financial difficulty, so I don't know how much longer it can carry forward these expenses. Unless they're able to somehow get additional financing from outside sources. It could be short-term financing, but I need to speak with PWS about its options regarding that.
Mr. Yamamoto, I'm sure you've advised your clients that there is a process for this suspending service or this service. So
yes,
you could be them of that process. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Yamamoto. Is the consumer advocate on? Mr. Angelo, I have some questions for you, and I'm not sure
Yes.
if it's you or who that would be answering it.
Okay.
The first question that I have for you is, what steps has the consumer advocate taken or plans to take in response to concerns with PWS's financial condition to help protect ratepayers faced with the possibility that PWS may reduce or cease services?
Sorry, looks like it's broke. Apologize, Commissioner. We got a poor network quality message on our end. You were asking which steps we have taken.
That's correct, with respect to address, or I guess addressing the concerns that regarding PWS's financial condition, to help protect ratepayers faced with the possibility that PWS may reduce or cease its operations. We propose taking any steps.
Thus far, we've reached out to the AO to make sure that they are aware of the situation. We have not contacted any companies on their behalf. We spoke, obviously, as Mr. Yamamoto said, with the council and got an update on what steps they were taking. And we've been indicated we would be in regular contact with them. So we're awaiting what steps are going to be taken next based on what they hear back from the two companies that they reached out to.
And just to confirm, Mr. Yamamoto indicated that he had a series of discussions with you or your staff regarding the temporary rate increase application. Just confirming that is accurate.
That we had this. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
Sure. To what extent has PWS discussed the details of their planned temporary rate increase application with you?
I'd say at this point, it's just very general that they plan to file. We don't have any specifics at this time.
Does the consumer advocate have any concerns with PWS's intended plan or have any other comments or feedback?
We have concerns just overall that we stated initially with it's an ongoing concern that the AOAO and the various customers that we've heard from today have noticed. The quality of service seems to be an ongoing issue, and we need to learn more about, particularly, I think the fire safety, addressing the backup and safety systems of the fire suppression equipment. We'd like to learn more about that, what the status of that is. It would be helpful to have some discovery around that. It would be helpful to that's an ongoing concern, and I'd like to point out again the issues that the customers brought up with infrastructure fixes that need to happen that could potentially result in savings in a relatively short amount of time. We have concerns around those issues, and we'll continue to have concerns with that going forward. And whatever steps are taken, if a new operator comes in, I think they're going to have to address those.
Mr. Angelo, but I guess my question is that related to
Rate increase application.
general rate increase application? My understanding is the temporary rate increase application just addresses continued operations, not any funding of any type of infrastructure related improvements. So are you intending to ask these questions as part of the temporary rate increase application?
We can ask these questions with part of the temporary rate case application or do it within the context of the rate case.
Is the CA amenable to help streamline or expedite the process for a temporary rate increase? And if so, what will the consumer advocate be able to do to help streamline or expedite the process for PWS to get approval of a temporary rate increase?
In terms of at least in the ERI, we can point to things that are necessary that we would like to see to help streamline. I think the operating agreement, for example, between the current system operator, learning what those expenses are, and the sooner that they can get information to us on what those bare bones expenses are, the sooner we can vet them.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Mr. Yamamoto, please continue your discussions with the consumer advocate to make sure that all the information that they need are included in your application.
I will do.
That would help expedite our review of the application proceedings as much as possible.
Understood.
Commissioner Mills, do you have any other follow-up questions or closing remarks?
Not at this time, thank you.
With that, the commission will provide further guidance regarding any upcoming procedural steps in this proceeding by written notice or order. For those who wish to submit additional comments on this particular docket, I provided instructions earlier. If you need more information, we'll hang on line just a little bit longer and you can, I'll have my staff provide that information. We'll put it in the chat. With that, thank you everyone for attending and your participation today. Appreciate everyone's assistance in getting this done early. Thank you, Mr. Angelo, Mr. Yamamoto.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner.